Welcome to Magic the Flavouring, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where we're talking about all things magic, flavour design, and lore. I'm your host, Andy Man.
Hello! This is Nathan Cancel.
We're not talking about Magic the Gathering today. Instead, we're talking about Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Yeah, that was from the 90s cartoon, if anyone
I watched a retrospective of that animated series, and it's a shame that they didn't do more than 5 seasons.
It's like that and the X-Men TV show. They ended both of them with like some kind of crazy cliffhanger, unhappy ending.
Yeah.
And then just went, yeah, but because it's for kids, we're not really going to care about wrapping up the story. You're like, what?
We're just about to enter the full multiverse and go and find your girlfriend. Not, yeah. Yeah, it's almost like Peter Parker's not allowed to be happy in anything. Speaking of which, this is the worst set of magic of all time, right?
No one's happy at Peter Parker in this.
Yeah, we're talking Magic versus Spider-Man, or Spider-Man versus Magic fans. This is their third take on fourth take, I guess, on a small set kind of thing. They did Aftermath, Big Score, Assassin's Creed, and now we've got Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess, Big Score sort of half of a one because they eventually folded that in.
Well, basically, Aftermath was such a disaster that it meant that for multiple other products, they've had to go, how do we not make the same mistakes again? It turns out by making new ones.
Yeah.
This set originally was supposed to be, as I said before, similar to like Assassin's Creed. And we're gonna talk mostly in disparaging negatives, but we'll also talk about things that we think they tried to do well. There is an aspect of, I think they backed themselves into a corner with this. So I might give them a little bit of grace, but I know that you're much more vitriolic towards this than I am.
It's no secret, right? It's absolutely no secret that I'm not the biggest fan of Universes Beyond. Although we were chatting pre-record about like Magic, because that's what we fucking do. Whilst you were making us a lovely breakfast, by the way. And I was talking about like how I do have some Universes Beyond cards in my EDH decks, and like there are some things that I like about each individual Universes Beyond. It's the broader concept that I don't like. And look. This isn't going to be just an hour of me whinging about Spider-Man. It will be mostly an hour of me whinging about Spider-Man. There are some what I feel are redeeming qualities about this set, but so much of it I think is the exact archetype of what's wrong with UB, and I just don't know how they can hide behind a lot of these. It's the best-selling Magic set of all time. Blah 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 blah. When they have proven their point with things like Final Fantasy and say like Warhammer and Lord of the Rings, where they have these UB sets that do really well and everyone loves them, and then the bar is so fucking low for just making a passable Magic set that when they do these kinds of things and they fluff it's okay, right. So, this is my sort of like small little concise thing about it. If they make a bad Magic the Gathering set, it's still Magic the Gathering. If they make a bad Universes Beyond set, it's not even Magic the Gathering. So people who like Magic can't even fall back on it.
Yeah, and then it's damaging to the integrity of future ideas as well. Like, the thing that I thought was a big betrayal here is that we managed to get Avatar spoilers in the midst of this set spoiling, and people were way more excited. And even myself, I was like, I actually kind of prefer looking at some of the designs for this. I prefer about knowing what the earthbending and airbending is going to be rather than, web slinging,
Well, I mean, look, as to full disclosure, I am a big Atla fan, right? I'm a massive Lord of the Rings fan, and much like Lord of the Rings, I have no interest in playing with the Avatar Last Airbender cards. However, even just looking at them, not only does the tone and the feel of the world fit analogues in Magic that we already have, because they're both takes on, like, Asian mysticism, right? But even things like earthbending, airbending, waterbending, firebending,
that's Magic.
Fits in Magic, but not even just as it sounds magical. It fits in the way that they would make a Magic set, because it is just Ravnica. They take like, this is the thing that this plane does, and here are how the factions all do it. Like, yeah.
They didn't even get to they didn't even get to like lean into it from because multiverses are a big thing, Spider-Verse is a big thing. Obviously, Beyond the Spider-Verse is potentially coming out next year, I think. It's a shame that they couldn't actually fully lean into it and go, cool, this is the plane of... I mean, I guess they can't, because then it's too much of a within without kind of situation. But they could have lent into this idea of where we are peering through through a lens into this weird, wacky, futuristic kind of world where there's spider mutants everywhere. But because it just feels like an extended secret lair, and that's essentially what it does. Like, I had my Sonic secret lair arrive recently, and I look at that side by side with this, and I'm like, they're cut from the same cloth, but the Sonic is much less overt, right? It's much less in your face. It's something that did I say Sonic or Spider-Man to begin with then? I think the Sonic. The secret lair is obviously just like kind of tucked away on the side. But the fact that they've had to go, well, we've failed so much at these little products because things like Aftermath just felt tacked on. I think Big Score worked, but mostly because they integrated it into the set. Assassin's Creed, I don't really see anyone having any real issue with. I think
it was just very nothing.
It was very nothing, but also I think like there are even cards I look at, like I've added a Sigurd, the boasting one, into my Saga deck because it has cool, like there are cool mechanics within it that I'm like, cool. If you're really into Assassin's Creed and you were into Magic, this set was awesome.
The two Assassin's Creed cards I play in my decks are the Reconnaissance reprint and the Sword of Feast and Famine reprint. And
that's the thing is, for some reason, like it's also nice to just have like cards represented because all of the swords look a certain way. To have something that was like a Kopeshi kind of style, was like a harvest. Sword of Feast and Famine had nothing to do with food, but this one does because it's like a fucking harvest tool, and that actually makes more sense. If anything, it feels like that card is more grounded than just random Sword of Black and Green from Mirrodin, you know. But the issue I think with this is that they've taken a concept that by itself was fine, which is make a bunch of Spider-Men, make a bunch of villains, have people have some commander cards that they can play with, and then wish-wash, that's done. And they had to go, well, because we're worried about money and we don't care about integrity, let's just bloat the set out into a standard set, which is, that's going to help the current waning interest in standard to force a Universes Beyond that's not been done with the same delicacy. Delicacy? Delicatness? Delicacy. Yeah, but it's not delicious.
No.
It's not a delicacy, but there was...
You use delicacy.
Right, thank you, good. I know how to speak English.
Yeah, sure.
Because it wasn't done with that same kind of care and attention that you can clearly feel in the Lord of the Rings and the Final Fantasy sets, where they've had people that actively really enjoy those things be involved with them to make sure that it is enjoyable from both sides. That just doesn't seem to be present here. Like, there's a lot of things I'm like, oh god, you just put the bare minimum kind of effort in, right? You just box ticked. And as someone who absolutely fucking loves Spider-Man, I could care less. Because there are definitely some cards I look at and go, fuck, I want that, I want to buy that, I want to play that. But for the most part, I'm like, this didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Especially in the same year as Final Fantasy and Avatar the Last Airbender, because those two things I think are going to be so much better as a direct comparison. Like, it just feels like it was just this, hey, we had to satisfy this many sets this year. We had to satisfy this many fucking sponsor Universes Beyond collaborations because money here gets stuck with this thing that no one really knew how to pull off properly. Yeah,
it's kind of... I mean, look... There are things that could be said that we could say in this podcast that I think already a lot of other commentators have said. There's individual cards that I thought more people would get upset by that I've not seen fallout from, although I think there is. I mean, we could talk for a whole hour about how many spider people there are, legendaries or otherwise, and about the ramifications of just, these are cards that not everyone's going to know, but then some of them have been characters in Spider-Man for 20 years, so Spider-Man fans are going to know, but then who is the set for? And I think that's all kind of been said. We are a Flavour podcast. We can look at things from a Flavour point of, like, does it work as a Spider-Man set? And then also, the thing that we've not mentioned at all, and, I mean, granted we're only 8 minutes in, but it's the big elephant in the room, the Through the Omen Paths cards.
Yes.
They have, because they couldn't get the digital license. They've never revealed exactly why, but everyone is pretty sure it's because of Marvel Snap. They can't get the digital license for the likenesses of the Marvel characters. So on Arena, they actually get some Magic cards, whilst we're left with Spider-Man cards.
Yeah, and I think the repetitiveness of the set itself reflects way more in Through the Omen Pass when you get to your 85th spider-human hero, and it's like, how many different ways can we make all of these creatures both spiders and humans without it just being a spider riding a human or a human riding a spider?
Yeah.
Oh, spoilers, they can't. That is the way you have to do it.
Otherwise they have to make up this whole thing about, like, spider people, which they don't really have in Magic.
No. And it's a shame because I feel like we're close enough that you could, but maybe it's on that body horror thing of where no one wants that. No one's going to enjoy that.
So let's talk a little bit about that then. So we've looked through the Omen Paths cards, and if you listening at home haven't looked through them, do so. They are on the Wizards' main website as like a whole section because it's part of their IP. It's not some afterthought. They commissioned artists. They changed the names. They have flavor text. They had to make these cards if digitally, if not on paper. So it really is part of Magic, and they have so many references to different planes. There's Strixhaven references, New Capenna references, all across the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose what they wanted to avoid doing, and this is why I think they haven't gone maybe as full gear as they could have done, is because, I mean, arachnophobia, which is already they're failing at, but they can't make a spider plane just because people wouldn't buy it because of fear.
Yeah, of course.
Which is fair. But they can't make a new plane where the whole gimmick is these are spider people, because then people would be more fucked off, because it's like, well, you literally made a product.
Yeah.
Like, you made an entire set, but you just haven't put it out on
when
paper.
you have to do yours, when you have to make something twice, you know you didn't make it right the first time.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
guess it's kind of difficult because there are two sides of this, right? There's you could have had this, obviously I'm not talking about what they could have done because licensing didn't work, but had they reversed it, right? Had the spider versions of all these cards been on Arena only, and then the Through the Omen Path been the set that got released into paper. We need a Through the Omen Path set so desperately from a narrative point of view, to get a little bit of an expansion on all of these different planes, and then it could have probably lent into this idea of like, well, the reason it's a spider and it's a human is because the spider came from this plane and the human came from this plane. Or you could have even had a whole plane of where an Omen Path opened. It sounds horrible, but thousands of spiders pour through in various forms and gimmicks, and then the entire world just has to kind of deal with how do we, create a symbiosis with the spider thing. You could have created like a whole in-universe thing separate, which again is a lot of work, a load of world building and all this kind of stuff that is money. And I think clearly what they want to do here is like go, we've kind of locked in, let's put as little effort to get it over the line as possible, and then just hope that the brand pays for itself.
Well, you were saying that you think a lot of those Omen Path artworks are just slush art or concept art from other sets that they didn't use, right?
Let's look at the first one being like Valgavoth. There's a lot of Duskmorn references, and a lot of it is like the culty kind of side of things, but pushed further than we see in the regular set. There's lots of moth mask iconography. Probably not even masks, it's probably their face actually sprouting into wings, which is even more horrific. But a lot of that didn't get into the set proper because the set proper had like a limitation on space. And that culty side of things was actually kind of diminished because we've done it recently with Innistrad. I mean, a lot of the times when they go to a plane that's a little bit spooky, there is some kind of white-based cult.
I mean, even Arcavio, Strixhaven,
exactly.
Eureka, right?
Yeah. So it's one of those things of where I can see why they didn't feel like they needed to go the whole hog on it, but there was a lot of artwork that was lifted and put into this set that makes me feel like at one point, conceptually, they did more with the cult side of things. And then led me to think, well, maybe that's actually them hinting at what's happening on the plane now. Maybe the cult side of things, now that Valgavoth's got enough attachments to all these other planes, doesn't need to continue to terrorise the people within. He just goes, you know what? Kill all of them, turn them all into cultist people. My plane is now a haven, like almost like a Phyrexian level cult haven, and that'll be a really cool thing to go back to. And maybe we'll see the next time we see Valgavoth is actually his plane penetrating into another, having an incursion. I wonder why that's also happening in other media. But maybe there's like an incursion, and we see it from his side of it. It's not actually taking place on Duskmorn. It's Duskmorn is taking place on the plane that we're in, for example. And that's just one of like the things that we've seen from the set that makes me kind of go, well, these were things that I'd like to see otherwise. And I'm glad that there is that lore there, but I can't help but feel like it's all incidental because they had to, not because they were planning on doing that originally, or that they had an idea in their mind to have expansions of lore for planes that we haven't seen in a while. I feel like they're always very much like yes and next, and it's very much not going cool. Right, we've set all of these things up, and over we've set a map of a multiverse, and instead of like keeping all of that in mind at all times, which the Omen Pass technically should hold them true to that idea. They can kind of go, right, cool, with all that in the background, let's go and focus on this different thing instead. And then, especially with Universes Beyond, you're constantly taking your mind off the focus of the multiverse. Whereas through the Omen Pass, at least allows you to keep your mind in Magic and keep looking at Magic, because Edge of Eternities was also outside of the multiverse.
Yeah.
So there's not been a single set outside of Tarkir this year that's going to be set within the multiverse of Magic we've been playing with for the last 30 years.
that is kind of weird to think about.
And then, as an inverse of that, one of the main things that people seem to be saying is like, and Amaro even said, it's that it's really hard with these kinds of really strict modern world Earth-based Universes Beyond to create a fully coherent Magic set. They really struggled with making green cards because the idea of green in its truest sense for Magic as a flavour doesn't work necessarily in the day-to-day, because someone swinging around the city of the cityscapes of New York, there's not a lot of trees, there's not a lot of nature. Like what you could have I guess a bully or someone being like, power of the, like the strength of the bully or whatever.
But I mean, I buy that as a thing, but they have run into this problem before, and indeed this critique's been levied at their world building before from people. I was going to say from people who are pedantic, and then immediately my thought was people like us who are pedantic.
Yeah.
Because, for example, you have the Ravnica sets which don't have mountains in them.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to do mountains? Okay, we'll do like cityscapes that like have kind of evoke the idea of mountains. Oh, okay, we're on Ravnica again is another issue. There are no seas. How are we going to do an island? And lots of different planes have these slightly different issues.
You have to create like the zygotes or the furnaces and just kind of go, it's not really an island, but there's water.
How did fucking Amonkhet have anything that was akin to a forest? Like, okay,
true.
It's got a garden or two, but like there's no forests. Do you know what I mean? So I do understand that as an issue. My problem with the modern cityscape, aside from all the anachronistic technology X, Y, and Z, we've been dealing with that. Bagels, things like Dustmon,
pigeons.
So let's talk. Let's talk about City Pigeon, because that is what I was gearing up to. Now, look, this is going to be a banger of a common card. So City Pigeon is as a 1/1 flyer for 1. When this creature leaves the battlefield, create a food token. Oh, that was my lunch. Spider-Man, Peter Parker. I mean, both his names, I guess. Fucking. And it's
just in case you weren't sure who Spider-Man was.
And the artwork by David Szabo is a pigeon, like a New York pigeon, which incidentally is very similar to a UK pigeon, if you're looking at the pigeon world.
As someone who's travelled a little bit of the world, these fucking pigeons are everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the same off-grey wood pigeon look.
And it's a beautiful bit of artwork, but it has a hot dog with like all the trimmings. It's got a bagel that's sat on or is it donut or is it bagel? It's a bagel sat on the edge of a pigeon's head, and there's Vulture in the background, which I've only just noticed, and there's like 3 pigeons in the foreground. So I'm going to compare this card and the whole feel and function of this card to another city-dwelling creature that does a thing when it enters, another common, and that is Generous Stray, which is a 1/2 for 3 creature cat. When Generous Stray enters the battlefield, draw a card. So again, it's a utility common of like a street animal, right? Cats place their gifts with care so that a barefoot will step on them in the middle of the night. Now, I remember when this card came out in Guilds of Ravnica. Not even that long ago, like 2018, 2019. And people even then were saying, is this just a bit too much of like, it's just random animal. It's not like fantasy animal. But immediately...
It's real world kitsch. It's not fantasy, yeah.
But the difference between these two cards, for me and my take on Magic, is worlds apart. Because if you look at City Pigeon, that is not a charming card. That is a card where someone has gone, wouldn't it be funny if we put a bagel on a pigeon? Wouldn't it be funny because it's New York that if we make pigeons part of Magic now? Whereas the other one is this charming animal who lives in a fantasy cityscape, and the artwork, he's got like a little lizard, like the kind of vibes factor, and it really is just vibes, because functionally they're the same card. The vibes factor is so different, even though they're going for the same ideal.
I think one of the things, so I agree, I think the thing that's nice about the Stray is that it creates a normality out of a situation that's weird. You wouldn't think on Ravnica that it's like, oh, they also just have cats and coffee. Of course, and that makes something that's weird and alien more relatable. Whereas the City Pigeon, the thing is, when you read it, it doesn't sound like, before the flavour text, it doesn't sound like the pigeon stealing your lunch. It seems like that when the pigeon dies, you eat it.
Or when he flies off, he's dropped it.
Yeah, like it doesn't ring true. And also, the flavour text could have been, I'd have liked this more if it was, in quotations, like, City Pigeon. And it said it's Vulture, it's like, they'll never expect the little ones.
Sure.
Something like that. That makes it within universe, and it expands the universe of Spider-Man. It doesn't expand New York,
well,
where...
This is it.
It just reminds me of fucking seagulls at the coast. These bastards. And it's like, stop... Yeah, it's bringing something... Like, I don't know if anyone's looking at it and going, oh, I fucking love pigeons, that's great. You know, the only people that are looking at it are going, well, I recently built a Choco bird deck, so now I have to have Walk from Final Fantasy with a bagel.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, funny because they also did a pot noodle in the Final Fantasy set, so I guess there's, a little bit of, like, Final Fantasy across the years. You kind of, sometimes it strays into anachronism anyway.
But that is the difference, right? These fantasy worlds, you hit the nail on the head. The fantasy worlds that have hints of normality, and this is something Magic has always done. Magic has always had homage to things. I mean, the first Eldraine set, literally the cards in that set were homages. They weren't direct one-for-ones. They were homages to fairy tales. And even then, I found a way to be fucking angry about Seven Dwarves, because it was too on the nose.
Yeah, well,
and now they're just going full in.
Well, you've got Rent is Due. How is there Rent is Due a card in Magic? And I get as a card mechanically, really, really cool. Really like it. But why am I playing a card that reminds me that I have to pay my rent?
I think it's also like
Taxi Driver.
This is, but I also this is where if we kind of pull it back a bit and right, okay, I know I'm upset about the fact that it's just Spider-Man. Does this set work as a Spider-Man set? And even a card like Rent is Due, I think, fails to understand what it's trying to evoke when it comes to Spider-Man. So, if people don't know my relationship to Marvel, I would say pre-Phase 2 of Marvel films, I would have been what you would have considered a bit of a comic book nerd.
Why didn't you just say Phase 1?
Because I think with Phase 1, people like me were going, oh, check it out! And people who didn't know were like, oh, okay.
Then they get to learn about it.
Then they got into it, which is great.
A lot of people had no idea who Iron Man was before Tony Stark was Iron Man.
Exactly.
Right?
Whereas I think I had...
before Robert Downey Jr. was
Sure.
Iron Man.
Because I think I had a higher than average knowledge of what most comics were about. Like, I've heard of a lot of these characters before even that phase came out, because they are that old, for example. But I think nowadays, because I don't actively buy comic books, and I only tangentially keep up with, like, rough arcs because I feel they're interesting. I'm a big Daredevil fan, which I think I've said before on the podcast. But other than that, I don't really keep up. So now I have what I would
guess
consider...
he's not in the set, by the way.
Well, quite. and he, ironically, he's a massive part of Spider-Man's lore, being another street-level New York superhero.
Guess what they're going to do? They're clearly going to do, like, a Kingpin, Daredevil, subset, Secret Lair bullshit.
Oh, see, now I might buy that one. Take it all back. Matt Murdock. Then they have to have Catholicism and fucking Magic the Gathering, because it's so intrinsic. Let's not go there. But, so my problem is that... So I have an understanding of, like, what Spider-Man is meant to be about, broadly. And... yes, him having this kind of underpaid job when he's not working at Oscorp, right? Because he hasn't got to that part of his story yet, probably. And he's struggling with the rent, but he's being a superhero, and it's all about how do you live as a normal person whilst always doing the right thing, balance, balance, balance. They could have had a card that was called something else, like, not even magical, Tough Decisions, right?
That there is.
Okay.
It's a blue card. It's basically like, do you do your homework or do you go out web slinging?
Okay, but they could have played on the concept of the thing.
You could have had one of those for each of the colours, right? Of where your black one could have been the moment where Goblin's got the fucking Mary Jane. And it's like, and then the card is called Spider-Man Can Always Do Both. That's a black card because it's his arrogance of I can always do. Wizards, pay me money to make these sets better for you. I've got it for you.
It's just they clearly want to, and it's like, who is this for, right? Because if this is for Spider-Man fans are not going to resonate with Rent is Due because they already understand the concept of that part of the story, and they probably understand the nuances of what Spider-Man is as a character when it comes to paying money for rent more than anyone else. And Magic fans aren't going to like it because we don't want cards called fucking Rent is Due.
You're not going to put rent unless you're... I bet there's some arsehole wankers out there that play like I'm the bank, it's a stack, and they're going to love this card because they're like, have you paid your rent?
There's definitely like, or there'll be some sort of like, Trump themed deck.
Yeah, exactly. And that I get because that's like a parody theme.
Yeah.
But like mechanically, this card does really cool things, and I'm probably going to be annoyed that I have to have a Rent is Due card in my deck to be able to play the effect. And then again, I don't care about the effect if I'm playing this for the memes, and then memes will meme regardless. So at least the integrity could have been better. It's funny, right? Because there are certain cards that because I've shown Isla a lot of these cards, mostly because it's fun for me to go, hey, look, Spider-Man on a Magic card.
Yeah.
But even like a very simple card like Friendly Neighborhood. I like that a lot. That you can also take out of this set and put it anywhere, but it works specifically for Spider-Man. Being an enchantment, makes a bunch of humans, or you enchant a land, you get 3 citizens when it comes into play, and then you can tap that land to give a creature +1/+1 for each creature you control. That's cool.
Yeah.
That just shows general camaraderie. It doesn't. It's specific to Spider-Man through the naming convention, but everything else about it is like, cool. That could just be any old Magic card, and that feels like it's got integrity. And there are certain cards that I look at, and I'm like, that to me, you designed, you got an artist to pay for it, and you did, because the artwork's stunning, by the way. Pablo Mendoza?
Yeah.
But you can have that side by side by other cards, and you can see that the effort with some of it was very much second half have to make this work, whereas there was so many cards that you can tell were like, with great power, there's another one. You're like, cool, you had all these iconic cards that you really, really wanted to do, and then you just kind of had to dilute it and fill it out.
Well, this is where the kind of conspiracy theories are about it being a Secret Lair / mini pack set. They had to then expand it into a half standard set.
It was confirmed to be a small set, and I think this is back, and they must have had this in the works for a while, because obviously Aftermath fell flat about, 2.5, 3 years ago nearly? God, that's a horrible timescale. But when that didn't work, they had to. There was a knock-on effect to a lot of products, and I feel like this is probably the last one that they were like, well, we still have committed to it, and maybe that's another thing of where they really, fucked up here, is because they really committed to something that they weren't even able to fully commit to because they didn't even get the licensing for Arena for it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, shit, we're all the way in, but we're not even all the way in.
Yeah.
So we have to go all the way in further on something that we overcommitted to in the first place, and it just makes everything feel icky. I think that's it. There's an inherent ickiness with this, of where certain sets you can I don't know why, I don't know what exactly it is, but it doesn't feel right. And with Assassin's Creed, I had none of that. I was like, this is something that someone wanted to make. They went and got all of the lore. They did all of the games, and you look at it, and if you played any of those games, you go, yeah, absolutely.
Because you really could take or leave Assassin's Creed.
Exactly. Whereas they've got one Spider-Man card here, which is just... Oh, God, sorry. There are so many fucking versions. Spider-Man, Web Slinger. Legendary creature, Spider-Human hero, and it's just a 3/3 Web Slinger for one because you need your archetype for standard to have the one drop that's super overpowered. But it by itself, that is not a fun Spider-Man card. It's a mono-white 3/3, essentially vanilla. Spider-Man should never be a vanilla creature. So the fact you've had to make so many of them to fill out this set, it makes any of the cool ones, and there are some really cool ones. Gwenum, really, really cool. Maybe go and look up this character. I didn't even realise it properly existed. The design of it's really, really cool, and the effects really cool. It's like fantastic. But then it gets swamped out by all of these other things that are happening. Like, I don't understand why they didn't lean more into the villain side of things. Like, Spider-Man is the villain character. His rogues gallery is bigger than any.
Yeah.
And yet you didn't go weird and wacky with it. You just made reiterative, more and more different Spider-Men.
Or does different symbiotes, or several Green Goblins. I'm like,
Yeah, I think we got Scream, Carnage, and Venom, but that was it. We didn't even get the full spread of the different symbiotes. We didn't get Null or anything like that to go a little bit overextended. We got Madam Web, and we got one of the I can't remember what the other guy is, the totems, one of the spider totems, because that wackiness of story kind of goes, but they didn't go into that. It felt very much like they went, even from a story point of view, we're only going to touch on the really weird things a little bit, but we're otherwise going to keep it to be a really grounded, down-to-earth Spider-Man story. It's like,
for the villains anyway.
In a film, fine. For a Magic the Gathering set, where's the excitement?
Yeah.
There's so much just kind of like, yeah, thwip.
It's this one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fine, but you end up after a while just nodding along and going, cool, absolutely. And the fact that we're able to, or had to, then take all of these cards and then do a second treatment of them is kind of like a little bit embarrassing, because then that second treatment also becomes super reductive, because there's only so many ways you can make a spider human feel in-universe legitimate before it starts going, there's something weird going on here. Why are there so many human spiders? Like, well, we did this other thing with this other set, but we weren't able to buy the license for it. It's like, well, that sounds really fucking stupid and dumb. It's like, yeah, objectively, it does sound really stupid and dumb. Subjectively, it is stupid and dumb.
Yeah.
And aggravatingly, they're going to have to really push this for it to be successful. I think it's going to really struggle to do so. And then there's going to be a minor amount of backlash in one way or another. Anytime that a company doesn't make money when it thinks it's going to, the audience suffers.
Yeah.
And I really hope that the success of Final Fantasy, and they know that the mistakes they've made with this set, kind of balance out and they go, right, as long as we do it properly, and I think Avatar would also sell well, and they'll be then semi-justified in going, right, well, we pick the right ones, we do the right thing with it, it works. When we half-ass it and try and do this thing, and I think they're probably still sitting there going like, well, we know this is shit, should we just sweep it under the carpet? Which is why we got a lot of Avatar spoilers around the same kind of time. And I still think the alternate art treatments, like some of the comic treatments and things, like especially the sagas, like shockingly enough, the sagas are the best bit of the set.
Yeah, quite,
again. Because the alternate treatment is just a comic panel, and obviously each of the different bits of the saga are like the text boxes. And it looks like a comic panel as you go chapter by chapter.
But do you know what? And maybe this is me just sort of like trying to have my cake and eat it too with how much I don't like Universes Beyond. There's something about card art treatments nowadays, because they have been pushed so much. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe although like kind of, well, it doesn't look like a Magic card, really was just a matter of time before you got used to it. Because I sort of treat those as separate from the issue. A, because they could have just, it could have been a secret lair. And again, that's the same tone of like thinking about the secret lairs. They were so pushed back against for both economical economics, like money reasons to do with game stores, but also the fact that it's like, well, Wizards are just selling us cards now, like
it's print order bullshit.
But now that we're used to it, it's so funny we're in a position where even as someone who doesn't buy secret lairs, I bought one as part of a release, and then I bought another one at fucking Magic Con, so I don't really buy secret lairs. but now I'm yearning for them to put things in secret layers rather than make them full sets.
Because that's how it should be, though. Because that feels right to you, right? And the other thing is, there are also, by the way, there's four secret layers coming out.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Which is fucking stupid. But I actually feel like, if anything, with a set like this, again, because they had to make it a standard set, they couldn't just fully lean into it. But the whole thing should have been alt treatment. You're doing a comic book set. Why isn't every single one of your cards looking like a comic book? And you can turn around and be like, well, that's really expensive. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
But people would have fucking spent money on it.
People would have bought cards that weren't unique if they looked like Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. But the problem is, because you've diluted all of these really cool cards with a bunch of basic bitch nonsense, and I don't think this is going to fail, because, unfortunately, as a standard set, it kind of ties players down to be like, you have to buy these cards. And there is a certain demographic out there that's quite large that will unfortunately still have to be buying these packs. You know, if I see, and I will be one of them, because if I see these packs sitting behind the shelf and it's languishing because no one wants to buy the boxes, I'll be like, chuck a couple of Spider-Mans, maybe I'll get one of the cool art treatments. But it does take away from that idea of where it could have felt like a really big splashy thing, and instead it feels a little bit just wet.
Mm.
And it's a shame, because I feel like Spider-Man's such a cool IP. It's such a, right now, like, zeitgeist, and it has been zeitgeist for a fair few years, but it is still very zeitgeist.
I think it's that, along with X-Men, because of the ironically non-MCU treatments of them through the Sony Spider-Verse films and then the X-Men 97. I feel like those two properties are now hotter than mostly any other Marvel property still.
And it's a shame, because this doesn't feel like Marvel's... It doesn't feel like a great expression of Marvelism, and it doesn't feel like a great expression of magic. And my biggest thing when it comes to these is I want to see worlds through the lens of magic. But I don't think you can look at I don't think you can do this the right amount of justice without being way more sensitive with it, or being way less, or tightening the scope massively.
I think it's a different kind of self-insert in, like, hero fantasy, right? Because especially with comic books, so, I mean, not all comic books obviously are set in present day, and even the ones that are, a lot of them will have like fake settings that are analogous. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, like
to real world things. So if you look at DC, for example, I think there are real world cities in DC, but like Metropolis and Gotham are Chicago and New York, or like, you know, whatever. Like, it's, but we understand that's what they are. But because they're not those things, you can kind of play around with them a bit more.
Yeah.
Marvel does have fake settings, but it's like the other way around, where the fake settings are kind of little pockets of sort of like fantasy stitched onto the real world.
Or wherever Doom's from. You've got
Sokovia.
Wakanda.
Yeah.
Wakanda,
yeah. But then it's things like, well, okay, almost all street level superheroes in America are based in New York, and it's the different boroughs that are the thing, like, you know, fucking Hell's Kitchen, Queens, fucking whatever, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So these are the places in New York that I know. So the problem here is that superhero comics work because you can go, well, if I strap on a mask and some spandex pants and go out into my city, I become the kind of fantasy element of this world that can make things better if I'm playing the hero, or I can do these crazy things if I'm being a villain. And that's very valid. That's super valid, especially because the real world around us sucks so hard right now, and has done for quite some time. Magic isn't that power fantasy. Magic is fantasy, and it's the idea of exploring worlds with concepts and magic systems and societal things that are so removed from our own world because we don't want to fucking live in New York right now. Yeah. I want to live in Lorwyn. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think I'm the only one.
I wonder if there is a question. I'd love if you are a Yorker and you listen to this. Like, I wonder if you feel more affinity to the set or more aversion to the set based on, you know, someone who actually lives in the world that it's trying to represent. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Spider-Man UK card, mostly because the artwork feels like who draws flags like that?
I mean, well, there's a lot of UK superheroes in Marvel where I sort of think like, oh, so close. Like Captain Britain, who's Psylocke's brother, the X-Man Psylocke. Again, it's just another suit with a Union flag on it.
It always feels like it's hard to have it's hard to have the UK legitimately represented from an American product, in the same way it's hard for British things to not make fun of Americans for the differences. Like, it's always going to be that kind of like, hey, you're alternative, and that's going to to be your gimmick. You know?
I mean, look at things like 2000 AD, the comic house that produces things like Judge Dredd, is a British comic house that does nothing but lambast American capitalism. It's kind of wild. So yeah, there's always going to be that little push and pull, isn't there? I suppose.
So one other thing we could probably talk about is the source material cards. I think this is where they've taken actual like comic panels and then they've reflected those into. It's kind of similar to what they did with the Final Fantasy, but I feel like it works a little bit better. Like the comeuppance having Spider-Man punching himself in the face through Spot's body is quite cute. And that again there is an element of some of the memes that they've done and the memification. It works in a setting like this. More than I think. Say, Magic tries to take itself seriously most of the time, so when it memifies itself, it's a bit gash, you know? Whereas with something like Marvel, it's already memification anyway. Comics always have a meme kind of quality to it, especially Spider-Man, who is the Joker of all of the superheroes, is the one who takes himself the least seriously. I think a lot of that can carry, and I think it works. I like seeing... Here's a Magic card, but we've done it from a Spider-Man point of view instead of going here's Spider-Man's point of view as a Magic card. And it's kind of very telling that I prefer the treatments of Magic as a Spider-Man thing more than I want to see a full Spider-Man set. And maybe this is the limit of where I say I like seeing everything through the lens of Magic. Sometimes the lens doesn't work. Sometimes the lens doesn't fit. Sometimes it doesn't zoom appropriately. And at that point, it's like, cool, I'm glad they tried it, but it's a shame that they had to do it in such such a spectacular fashion for it to then be obviously failing. And I don't know what the limited situation is going to be like. We're not really here to talk about gameplay mechanics per se.
Yeah.
But as far as I can tell, I think there's only one that's new, that's the web slinging thing, which is just ninja.
What, Mayhem?
Oh, and Mayhem. So they redid Madness and they've redone Ninjutsu.
So I want to talk about those two mechanics in a second. Can I just... We've been talking about some big concepts now for the past 20. Can I laser in back on a card that I despise?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Move over, City Pigeon, because here comes Imposter Syndrome. Now, this is a card, right?
I was talking about memes.
Exactly. When I saw this card revealed, I had I almost shat my pants in anger. And then when I went online...
That's not how the Oasis song goes.
Yeah, it's how their music sounds to me. Fuck you, Gallagher brothers.
English people be disparaging to English people.
Yeah.
Tell me a different song.
What's new, yeah. I hear they're not from London. I didn't see as much discourse on this card as maybe I thought I would, and I wonder if it's just because I wasn't looking hard enough. I'll endeavour to do so after we finish recording. So Imposter Syndrome is 4 blue for an enchantment that says whenever a non-token creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create a token that's a copy of it except it isn't legendary. I can put this in 3 of my decks just off the bat because I love playing with copies. So fuck this set for making this card that I can't get a hold of because I refuse to play with it.
2 Spidermen just pointing at each other.
I'm the real Spider-Man. No, I'm the real Spider-Man. And it's got the meme. But it's not even the full meme,
no,
FYI.
It's not even that scene.
It's not even the meme. But it's got 2 Spider-Mens pointing at each other, 2 Peter Parkers in classic Spider-Man outfits. And everyone will recognise this from the meme where is it from? The actual panel itself. Is it from the older...
It's from the very old TV show.
And then they reused it again in Spider-Verse.
Yeah, exactly. And then they did it again to the bigger effect in Spider Society and Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Oh, right, okay,
Not
yeah.
Beyond. Through
the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
So it's the spider people pointing at each other. Now, 2 things with this card, other than the fact I hate that it's good and I don't want to use it. First thing, the fact that they are doing literal memes in Magic, as opposed to it's evolved. They used to do, this is a cheeky hint to something that's a real world joke, haha. Then they did, this is our version of that meme, and maybe we've misunderstood it, but it kind of works within Magic. This is now, we can't actually copy the panel because it's probably got some kind of copyright for someone who was smart and whipped it up. So we're just going to recreate the meme beat for beat.
Yep.
So that is bad because
do you get it?
It's shit.
Do you get it?
It's so shit.
But do you get it? Do you get it? It's the thing from the thing. Do you get it?
Yeah, awful. The second thing, and this is in my mind actually probably the worst of the two, is because they got to choose the name of this card. The meme is the meme. They chose the name. Imposter Syndrome. And I think the pun they're going for is because they think the other one's an imposter, and they are having a syndromatic response of like I'm.
But that's not how
that's
works.
Not
that's the reverse.
What imposter syndrome is.
That's when you feel like you don't belong, not that the other person shouldn't be there.
If the flavor text was "You're Spider-Man," no, you're Spider-Man, that would be the pun.
Yes, but
they've misunderstood the pun they're trying to make, and it's not even a comment on that concept. Because the beyond the through into the fucking omen paths, whatever the fuck they're calling it. The imposter syndrome card analog there is it's like an evil magic mirror thing, which they do quite a lot with copy cards, and sort of fair enough. But that at least. Because the evil mirror version of the girl in the artwork looks like a very confident, slightly spooky
I'm surprised
version.
it's not just a scene from Lit Yara, and it's just all of the different... Imagine one of the shapeshifters copying the next one, and no one knows who... It's like, wait...
No one knows who the real one is.
Wait, yeah, who are we actually... Who's the copy? Who are we...
Yeah.
Isn't this not what I look like? Yeah, that would
yeah,
have been
I don't think I'm the real one. That's like,
and that's something you can explore. That's a bit more fun. But yeah, it's funny that
I hate this.
And the thing is, because imposter syndrome is such a catchphrase, right? As well as that you could have used that so easily in another card, but now you've kind of used it on something else.
There are so many times in Spider-Man throughout his comic book story arcs where he doubts his own abilities.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like that's the least imposter syndrome bit. That's the bit where he's so sure that he is the one. Like, well done. You've literally reversed it. Unless they deliberately reversed the thing, in which case.
But I don't think it's that clever.
No, well, the flavour text proves it isn't. My I can't believe that this is a magic card is hide on the ceiling. X blue for a rare instant exile X target artifacts and or creatures, return the exile cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. This is like a super powerful effect, right?
Yeah.
Also just for reference, Peter, is that you? I could have sworn I heard that boy moving around up here, Aunt May. Now, even from the perspective of the picture, how the fuck she can't look up and see him is beyond me.
Well, gamers don't look up.
No, she's Aunt May's a gamer. Yeah. Love it. You heard it here first. But this is like a really powerful effect, and in a normal setting of magic, you'd be doing like big hide you away. There's a big, it's almost like Teferi's protection levels of obfuscation, you know. And from a magical point of view, it's like jump, the veil goes up, you know. It's like probably gonna be like a J spell or something. You're gripping onto the ceiling,
stuck on the ceiling.
And this is where, and I think the thing that gets me the most, and this is really obvious here, is certain settings aren't tapping into ley lines of magic, so the colour pie no longer means anything.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Because you're not tapping in to the mana to make the spell happen. They're physically not doing that, and there's times of where you can ignore that for the sake of the theme or the world or whatever. And I get that because it's like, well, it's not a perfect system. It's like, no. And it's not a perfect system, which means you can't use it for everything. And this is a perfect example of me going, some of these just don't work.
Yeah.
Hydro Man being blue makes sense. I get that. Island, wet, cool, got it.
He's water.
Hiding up on the ceiling as being this big fuck off blink spell. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah.
You could have just been creatures unblockable, creature has shroud for a turn, maybe fine, fair enough. But that doesn't work for me. Also, X blue, there's only so many things you can put on the ceiling before you notice all the things on the ceiling. They could have even done the joke from the film where there's like 6 of them up on the ceiling. They didn't. They didn't even do it well.
Yeah, it's interesting. Quite often, that's a really good point. There's quite often times where I rant and rave about when things are too tongue-in-cheek, because it's like, I sort of don't feel like the game designers are as funny as they think they are. And I don't mean that as a diss. It's more like humour and memes are best when they come out naturally.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're trying to offer the joke up on a plate, it's just not quite as good.
Yeah, I'm not hungry for that, sorry.
But there are... I feel like a set with this, which is so out of the box, they could have really done a lot more like meta, like, this is a Spider-Man set, and we have to make it magic, but they've taken it almost too seriously.
Yeah. I feel like that's the thing, is they felt they needed to, and they didn't. Like, they really didn't. Like, it could have just been whimsical and been absolutely fine. And again, it's a shame. I think, like, I feel the transform... I mean, to say some nice things, the transform cards, I think, are all quite cool. I like this idea if we see them beforehand and then after. I think that's very obvious. Like, you've got to do that for a few. I like it wasn't just all the Spider-Men, like they did Norman Osborn as well before and after Goblin. There are some aspects, and these are things I think that probably led with. It's just all the filler just feels like really wanky filler. And, like... there's only so much I can appreciate. It's already difficult enough to respect, you know, like a vanilla creature. I mean, even though the flavor text gives great better scope of the plane, obviously, like from a mechanical point of view, there's not a lot to get your teeth into there. But the more you look at commons, especially when we used to do like full set reviews, it's like the amount of cards I look at and go like, man, they produced so many bits of cardboard I couldn't give less of a shit about. Someone had to draw the artwork for that, design that, put some flavor text on it. Like, good God. And I feel even worse for the people that had to do it for this, because it's just like,
what do you do?
How do we make this feel legitimate? And it's really silly. Like, there's even little weird cards that I think are really cool. Like, I think it's like Enthusiastic Crowd or something. And I like the fact they've just done a generic crowd as a card. Because I'm like, that seems like it would be shit, but because it's on an effect that's quite cool of where every player gets to add a mana on each of their turns, and if they do, the crowd gets bigger. It's like the more stuff that's going on, because in superhero films, it makes no sense that there's a big fuck-off fight that could kill everybody going on.
And then people
goes,
just kind of
I'm going to gather around and take a video. Which I know actually kind of in this day and age is probably more realistic. But I like this idea that the more chaos is going on.
People these days are far less passive. They're usually like doing something in that moment. Like you look at all the riots that are happening around the world right now.
Exactly.
In superhero films, they are just watching it like a spectator sport. I mean, it's funny you actually mentioned that card, just to touch on it ever so slightly. Mobs and crowd cards do have a precedence in Magic, like Unruly Mob and X, Y, and Z. So I kind of feel like the reason that card works for you subconsciously is because it's already a trope in Magic that they can play off of.
Well, in Innistrad, they did have that very much, like the cannibals or whatever it is, when it's just people like standing around the bend. It's like
like village rights and village.
I think it might be village cannibals or something like that. Yeah. But that idea of going like, this is actually really close to home and really super basic, but of course all the peasants would get angry and create a mob together. And it's like, that's just normal.
Yeah.
And it's in a Magic set. And it makes sense.
Gather the town.
Because there are some aspects of Magic that are going to be mundane, because some of these worlds are like rudimentary fucking, Victorian time.
It's funny that they've went for a street level superhero to do this, even though all Marvel superheroes get some sort of cosmic thing going on. But the fact they've done a mostly street level superhero sort of speaks to the fact that we quite like when they do day in the life things. But again, it works because it's a day in the life of Ravnica, not a day in the life of Spider-Man eating some pizza.
Do you think we'd have liked it more if it hadn't just been Spider-Man? Had it been like a full Marvel New York, and you get like a little
Cage and
you get a little bit of everything, and again that the dilution doesn't feel so like, hey, there's the 58th Spider-Man. You actually just get a full like, this is Marvel. We've done a little bit of mutants already, so maybe we can have a couple of them in there. We've already done a couple. Obviously, we had an Iron Man card come out already. It's like, you've already touched on it enough that why not just do, instead of plane, you're doing New York in the Marvel-verse, and this is all the stuff that can happen.
The thing is, though, I might say yes, in theory, but then it's so loaded with, I'd rather they just didn't do it at all.
Yeah, of course.
And the other point is that I feel like they can't please anyone any of the time. If they did a, we're going to do 3 Marvel sets, and we're going to do like New York superheroes, cosmic whatevers, and then fucking, I don't know, House of M, or like whatever. They just pick 3 pools of superhero-ness which they can pull and do a card set out of. And they did that where it was like a card has like, say, like Jubilee and Iceman going and playing some fucking arcade, or you have like Luke Cage and Iron Fist doing Defenders stuff, and in the background fucking Daredevil's doing a thing, and like that's a card. That would be cool.
Up thing, and it's actually like all the Defenders teaming up together.
Almost like a, not Aftermath. What's the one? March of the Machine. All be one.
No, it was Aftermath.
Oh, when they did the team ups. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ironically, if they did an Aftermath thing where they kind of, because then they wouldn't have to do so many sets that are just so piecemeal and strung out. The problem is that you would then get people being like, well, I just want to have a Spider-Man card.
Why don't I have more Spider-Man? Yeah. Well, I'm surprised there aren't more sagas. I'm surprised they haven't done more story arcs. Like, they could have had the Mephisto arc of, where he creates the fucking baby. Is it his baby? Yeah, in the One More Day situation of where he has to rewrite his entire life.
Yeah.
Things like that, that's not present here.
The most hated of all Spider-Man arcs.
Hey, look, there's been a lot of hate recently, I get poor Peter, his relationships, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I feel like, it's a wood for the tree situation of where I feel like they planted a tree and it was all meant well and good, and then they got demanded a forest, and they were like, fuck, I don't know how to do that properly.
Can I talk about, so we had 2 mechanics, web slinging and mayhem.
Mayhem, yeah.
Can I talk a little bit about mayhem as like an oops, I think they've made social commentary by accident?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
So in my mind, especially with Spider-Man Rogues Gallery, there are kind of two themes that his super villains seem to fall into. And I think a lot of superheroes have this similar thing. Batman's Rogue Gallery is obviously very impressive as well. Daredevil shares a lot of, obviously that's DC, Daredevil shares a lot of rogues with Spider-Man, and in fact was a rogue of his gallery at one point. Punisher as well. They seem to fall into 2 categories because of the themes that Spider-Man enjoys. And that is either evil scientist goes too far, turns himself into monster, which happens like way too much, right? Or
experiment go wrong,
scientist, world's most smartest man does a thing. There's even a fucking Otto Octavius as Spider-Man.
Yeah, the superior Spider-Man.
Superior Spider-Man in this set. Or it's person from underprivileged, disenfranchised, fringe of society background gets power, and this is the ham-fisted bit, gets power and abuses it immediately, which you could, I think, maybe
I'm already criminal, now I'm stronger. I guess I'll do more criminalness.
So sometimes they use it as it's an overcompensation, and they treat it with a bit of respect, because it's like, well, if I had nothing and then suddenly I had this power, wouldn't I use it to further myself? But obviously all power corrupts. Or they just go, well, they're a bad dude, which is why they're a villain, they're a criminal, and now they're a bad dude with a gun. It's like, okay, fine, whatever.
Well, I guess you also got like Mysterio, who like was snubbed by society, right? And goes, well, if I wasn't accepted, then I'm going to use my abilities.
But then you have someone like
Electro
or Scorpion, who are basically, they're just villains, and now they've got a power set.
Yeah, they're thugs with extra bits.
So those are the two categories, right? Disenfranchised, underprivileged people, or scientists who go too far. So Mayhem is the villain's mechanic in this set, which is pay a Mayhem cost, and you may cast the card from your graveyard for the Mayhem cost if you discard it in this turn. Turn will still apply. That's the generic Mayhem thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically not Madness, because Madness you cast it instantly, but you have to do it right then. Mayhem allows you to cast it at the time you would normally cast it, but at any time after it during that turn.
Interesting though that it does work quite well in Madness decks. So Madness and Mayhem.
Because you can choose not to you can choose to either do it for the Madness cost immediately, or you can go, well, I'm just going to do it for the Mayhem.
It's like Madness flashback, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So the social commentary, which I think they've oopsed into, especially when it comes to like in fact, even the scientists fall into the category, because as you say, they're often people who are shunned for what they've either become or what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like,
do you have any idea how much I've sacrificed?
Yeah, a lot of that shit. Or, oh no, I've turned myself into a lizard and now everyone hates me, right?
Yeah. Just wanted to grow my arm back. What's wrong with that?
Is there something to be said for that the villain mechanic involves you having to be discarded in some way or be put into the bin?
Oh, because you are disregarded and hidden.
You're thrown away as being a useful thing, and then you come back stronger than ever.
Well, yeah, literally, I think the probably one of the strongest ones is the one drop, right? There's a flying 2/2, and you can mayhem it for 1 mana, and that's going to be one of the more powerful.
Well, I think Electro's Bolt is the one I've got on my screen, which is the 3 mana 4 damage, which you can do for 2 mana instead, which is really powerful.
Yeah, because the idea is like, if you are discarded, you're going to be more angry, so it's going to be easier to do that ability, right?
Or like, you've been undervalued and under sort of appreciated, and you've turned to villainy, because that's what happens.
Are there any? I probably should have checked. I wonder if there are any of the villain legendaries that actively discard things, and the idea is them going through their goons like wantonly and going, I can always make more.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a copy. There is a version of that within this, but it would have been nice. That would have been a good Kingpin card, of where he discards what he doesn't need to gain profit. Otherwise, he'd have been a really good white-black card, I think, instead of Mr. Negative.
There is one reference to Null as well that I've just remembered.
Is there?
There's Grendel, spawn of Null.
Oh, true.
Because they have to have a dragon.
Yeah.
It's a symbiote dragon. So stupid. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that's kind of all I want to say on Spider-Man for now.
I think we've said all of the things that I wanted to say as well, which is like, as someone who wanted to go into this being like, hey, there's these 10 cards that I really like. I'm like, there are, but there's way more cards that just make me apathetic of the things that I do like. And I just think I just don't think that we're able to follow through it with the same legitimacy that they have already succeeded with, not only this year, but in other sets as well. I think one of the biggest things that I always had to defend Universes Beyond with is like, but at least they did it well, even if you didn't like it. Like, I've got the full set of the Doctor Who decks. I think for as much as they suffer from we need to write way too many words on these cards to make them feel like powerful Magic cards, and also why the fuck are some of these people 2/3s? That's the same thing with here. Why has a taxi driver got 3 power? I mean, driving over someone in a car is fine, but he doesn't even crew vehicles. Blah, 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 blah. There is a disconnect, and I think there is an illegitimacy to it, which is very obvious in the fact they admitted that it wasn't the product they were originally going to make with it, and then the product we've got is an unfortunate compromise to satisfy a little bit of every direction, which inevitably means it doesn't fully satisfy any of them.
Cool. Well, I'm so glad that we now have this as part of Magic Forever.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna buy some cards and put them in decks, as I always do, but as I hope they don't do this again. I hope that they have a little bit more integrity, but they've only printed one of the Infinity Stones, so we know we're getting another 5 sets of this.
I mean, do you know what? I actually don't know if that's going to be what they do.
You can't. I mean, what are they going to do? This one in this set, and then hey, let's do a secret lair with the other 5, because that's shit.
This is a company that couldn't commit to doing 5 products of Commander Collectors or Spellbooks without having to change it.
Yeah, I guess that's another swing of them going, how do we make ancillary products that people actively really want to engage with? And what's annoying is, had you not made it about Gideon and Chandra I would have probably been really invested.
I thought the commander
spellbooks
collections
were really good. Yeah. The green one was fantastic.
Yeah,
like I play all of those cards in decks. Like why could and the black one I got as well.
I thought they were all pretty good.
Yeah. Well.
Anyway,
just moaning about things now. Good.
I turn 35 tomorrow.
Yay! Happy birthday!
Yay! I'm trying to think. I've got to get the train from King's Cross. Oh, and London's going for a tube strike as we record this, so I'm going to have to get
I think
crack
it's
a door.
actively no longer happening
At 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock tomorrow. That's when it's fully lifted.
Okay. I thought it was Thursday night. Okay.
But you know what's going to happen? Fucking Londoners talking about city people. Is that as soon as 8 o'clock rolls around, even if people don't need to be at work, they're all going to be like the tubes. They're going to run to the tube. So I'm going to.
I missed you.
Yeah, I'm gonna get up early. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to think of with the time that I have if I do get to King's Cross within a reasonable time between that and my train up north going to Yorkshire Dales
lovely
to trek up the hills and get rained on, whether I have time to buy some magic cards for myself for my birthday. I'll have a think. Anyway,
I'm going to put in a pre-order for some Spider-Man for you.
Oh gosh, you are the problem. You're the problem.
No, I'm sorry.
Let us know if you're the problem on our Bluesky. mtflavouring at bluesky.social.com/org bluesky. Emails go to mtflavouring@gmail.com. Tell a friend about this podcast. Tell an enemy about this podcast.
And go out and buy Silk Song. If you find it too hard, get good. Get good, scrub.
Thank you very much for listening. This has been Magic the Flavouring.
I'll see you soon.